Told you I'd be back, and now here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The end of 2020 approaches. 10:43. Actually, that's fast. It's actually only 10:41 at Jay's Geek House. Whatever. The end of 2020 is in sight. Thank goodness. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, and I think I'm over the food coma by now. Pizza was pretty fun. Did have some Sprite with it, though. So what happened was the guy who dropped off the pizza dropped a bottle of soda. I was like, hey, I didn't order soda. He's like, okay, have it on the house. I'm like, thanks. So happy new year to you too. I mean, it's not like this, I mean, come on now. If 2021 finds a way to be worse than 2020, that is definitely a feat in of itself and things along those lines. So a little unfinished business. Let's also thank today's supporters yet again. Rodney, thank you for the 10 during the last show. And then at the end of the show, once that thing clears off, because it stays up too long, King Europe, thank you for the 675 as well. Even though I missed the stream, I hope you have a happy new year, and thanks for all the content in 2020. He's EU, so he's a couple hours ahead, so if he's been staying up late, he's probably enjoying the wonders of 2021 as it is right now anyway. So I think, you know, now that Super Chat isn't just some one-off thing, I should probably make some kind of alert that goes along with that. I'm thinking to go along with the whole Paladins thing. So the you have this modeled after my ESO character. So basically, what I'm thinking of doing is making something that is like Holmes for the Paladins or something, because that's basically what my MMO characters usually are, is some kind of a fighter healer or some kind of fighter healer tank or something like that. I don't like being a one-trick pony or anything of that sort. Let's get some music going. Hangout stream. We're going to do some stuff until it's time to flip 2020 the bird. I've already taken down the calendar. That really shows, Wild and Scenic Connecticut 2020 calendar. Woo! And what do I have on the wall? Wild and Scenic Connecticut 2021 calendar. Yeah, this year's burned me out enough as it is that I didn't even want to try a different calendar, so. Pictures of nature, who cares? All right. What are we going to do for the next hour? So, play some ES, we could do ESO, we could do graphic type stuff, we could do other stuff. We could take a look at what's on YouTube right now. 2020 can go beep itself with a rusty iron harpoon. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. I always laugh at bleep jokes, because I'm like, haha, he swore, and that part of me kind of never grew up or whatever. So, yeah. So, howdy, chat. Now, at the beginning of the year, I was talking about how this is supposed to be, this will be the new Roaring Twenties. Yeah, What kind of roar? Whatever. So, I decided to punch things up a bit for this title, because I think 2020 definitely deserves some more because the 2020s definitely deserves some more a more aggressive response here. Let me load up my Firefox here, and let's see. Okay. Whoa, too loud. All right, we'll watch the levels. We'll watch levels, and yeah, rip headphone users. Well, that includes me, by the way. Let's look at some stuff. First of all, let's look at Rotten Hell 2012. And I'm not going to one-up it. I'm not going to put a box cutter to my calendar because I'm just so burnt out on this year and everything that's going on. I might just like, whatever, man. Maybe we could make a separate YouTube video about something like that. But let's actually load up some Firefox here. See this? There we go. Rotten Hell 2012. Very different world back then. So the context of this. The context of this was I was laid off at the beginning of 2012, and the thing is, these 9-to-5ers now in today's world have such a hard time keeping good help that I'm one of the most valuable people in the part of the building that I'm in. So, imagine some folks are probably pretty embarrassed that all that even happened. But the last year in which I singled out and said this was garbage, I'm glad it's gone, is most certainly 2012. Let's take a look at this. Let's do some React stuff as well, because I noticed that in the search results leading up to this was actually my... In the search results that were leading up to this was my... Wait, I have React mode on here. Why am I doing this? Debate mode? React mode. There we go. I didn't make this for nothing. It's perfectly sized for this kind of stuff. I'm just a little bit off center here. So, let's see. We fix up my OBS and let me just... well, actually, I want to be able to have room to do this. So maybe it's not a bad thing that I'm kind of getting clipped a little. We could always just grab this and just do this a little. Get a little bit of the Christmas tree in there. So let's actually take a look at this Rotten Hell 2012 video from back in 2012, from the end of 2012. Going to 2013, and let's just review the differences between these 2 years. I mean, obviously, global pandemic and everything, lots of bizarre stuff, but, well, we'll take a look. Let's see here. Stop. There, see, it's not working already. Let's get the levels correct so I can hear myself but not blast out my ears with this volume. No, not like that. Let's see here. It's Alt to uncrop. And we'll just do it to, like, here, so... It's Alt to uncrop, and it's not going off the edge like this either. Yeah, the MultimediaJay vlog. Yeah, this is so old. Yeah, not even a high-def camera at this point, because I was out in DSL country way back when. All right, this should work a little bit better for this sort of thing. All right, we continue. December 31st, 2012.
10, 9,
Windows
8,
7.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rotten Hell 2012.
Go rotten hell, oh 2012, I'm glad you're finally gone. I hope 2013 is nothing like you, blah blah this song. Yeah, nothing like ad-libbing, isn't it? Etc, etc. Yeah, it's tearing down the calendar, and yeah. So 2012, layoff year, temp doldrums, all kinds of other garbage. By the end of 2013, though, things would be turning around. It just didn't look that way at the beginning of 2013, so... I'm not much for thinking up rhymes on the fly like this. I just took 2013, doesn't leave me all that, well, you know. Beaches of Paradise 2012. At least the calendar was good for that year. What a joke. It's plaid sofa time. There's 2012's calendar. Here's a fist. That's all I have to say to that crap. Except an axe on a soft surface is next to useless. Whatever. Plus, I didn't want to chop the couch in half. Stop. Hammer time. Well, at least rubber mallet anyways. Can't touch this. Whatever. They don't make frying pans for nothing. Nah, let's... Cast iron skillet. I picked that up because of the week-long outages during Tropical Storm Irene. Holy crap. Let's not make too much noise here. This one's for fans of certain video games. Halo 2, I think. And lastly, since we do have the warehouse job, we did have the warehouse job this year. Temp doldrums would not get hired on there for over a year, stuck at 10-something an hour. That's what happens when you don't disrespect your... How come people keep quitting and we have to put up with all kinds of bad people? Because you treat people like dirt, you pay people like dirt, and that's why all you end up with is dirt. Right. No, can't do this with one hand. Can do that though if I don't slash the sofas, cushions, which, darn it, this was before the some of the Ashens Prestiges, so it would have ruined the Ashens Prestiges of the early 2010s and stuff. At least I'm using a safety knife. Whoa. So yeah, safety first. Shut the sofa. Yeah, this is... There. Looks like someone's cat just shredded this freaking thing. Because that's not the way things work. You know, it doesn't work the same way it does in the movies. You know, if you go at something with a box cutter like that, it is going to look like someone's cat was like, "Row!" or something like that. It's not like, say, in cartoons or something where someone with a super sharp katana just cleaves the calendar in half without batting an eye. Indeed. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, rot in hell 2012.
And thus ends 2012, one of the worst years of my life, and a strong contender for the worst year. Let's hope 2013 is nothing like its predecessor. So far, from what I've seen up to this point, 2013 can be one of two things. Either something resembling a turnaround year for me, or
it was, fortunately,
the year that finally breaks me for good. Let's just hope it's the former and not the latter. Those of you folks who pray, hope, rub rabbit's foots, whatever you do, keep me in your thoughts and prayers. This has been one of the worst years of my life, and I don't know. Am I at the bottom, wondering whether I can even look up, much less go up from this point forward? I guess we're just gonna have to see.
Been beat up, been broken down, nowhere but up. When you're face down on the ground, I'm in last place if I place it all. But there's hope for this underdog.
Anyways, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome.
Audio Adrenaline, for those of you that didn't get the reference, check out the song. I'm sure if you type Audio Adrenaline underdog topic into the search box, you can cue the song.
Welcome to 2013, whatever it has up its sleeve. This is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
Pro tip, never make videos like that. That's the world of 2012. So yeah, layoffs right at the beginning of January. January 1st, Happy New Year! January 2nd, back to work. January 3rd, yeah, your position's been eliminated. Chase unemployment, harder to do because you have to get on the phone. Harder to do back then because you have to get on the phone with, you had to get on the phone because you couldn't do it over the internet if you were laid off. So if you were laid off for, position elimination, you had to get on the phone with the DOL. And guess what happened back then? You got hung up on half the time because all agents are busy servicing under customers. Please try your call again later. Goodbye. Click. Because it was January. And all those people that had seasonal jobs up until Christmas had just gotten laid off. So obviously the lines were absolutely slammed. It's one of the key reasons why, with the pandemic and everything, with the hot zone from Christmas to New Year's, I basically, with the hot zone from Christmas to New Year's, I pretty much, let's load something else here. I've mentioned that, yeah, you can get money, I think, from unemployment, but I don't think you're going to want to, because the bureaucracy is going to be backed up so much. Now, let's get nice and naive here yet again. I mean, that's all, by the way, that's from so long ago. That's from back when I was doing royalty-free music, before the YTAL was even launched. Not so much is this radio-style commentary from, with 45 views in a year, woo, from exactly a year ago, December 31st, 2019. All right, back to React mode here. 2020 approaches. So, you know that meme on the internet? How it started and how it's going? Let's see if we can parody that.
Radio style. MultimediaJay radio style.
Okay, back to my regular way of mixing together these podcasts. I was fooling around with an AM radio filter earlier and maybe taking the radio style thing a little too literally.
Yeah, I got a lot of dislikes, but this got a lot of dislikes too. My question is how many? 4 likes, 5 dislikes. My question is how many of those dislikes have been in 2020? Where people are like, oh, this idiot was wrong. Were there ever any comments? Yeah, DJ Zahn 11 months ago. Walmart is the worst. I have a friend who has a degree in engineering, yet he is stuck working as a janitor for Walmart. That is lower than what you got for a job. All right. Probably saying the name wrong. I gotta watch more of his streams to hear how he says it again. I keep forgetting.
But I liked the results because I've listened to folks on AM radio before, and the way I mixed it together, and the thing in Audacity, getting my programs mixed up. The thing in Audacity for it is spot on. Absolutely spot on. Anyways, this is nothing fancy. It's just a discussion of what's coming in 2020, and it's being treated like a follow-up segment. In a way, you could say that I'm following up on the entire decade, because as we know, with the arrival of 2020 is the arrival of a new decade in addition to a new year. And as much as I was celebrating 2013's arrival after the rotten year that was 2012, I am more than willing to say that the 2010s can rot in hell just like 2012.
And 2020 can rot in hell just like the 2010s and just like 2012. Not doing well. I got to get ahead of this trend here. Whatever.
The majority of this decade has felt like running up a down escalator for me. No matter what I do, nothing I do matters anymore. And even when things get better, they inevitably get worse. Every single time. And not a thing that I've done has made any headway in breaking this cycle. Just disappointment, disappointment, disappointment. Frustration, frustration, frustration. Feelings of hopelessness, hopelessness, hopelessness. Like I said, running up a down escalator.
And 2020 didn't make that any better now, did it? This is what I was thinking at the end of 2019. Never mind when 2020 arrived. As 11 o'clock arrives at the Geek House, 1 hour left of this pathetic excuse for a year.
And this is no way to live. At all. Period. There is not one thing that I'm involved with right now that isn't a never-ending well of frustration. Let's rattle them off. Jay's Geek House, where I live. The landlord isn't doing as good a job as he used to in managing who he has in these units.
Oh boy, yeah. There's the hillbilly guy and other stuff that, this hillbilly guy and the other stuff that's always playing with some truck that's sitting on the grass for like 4 months and things like that. What was I upset about a year ago before all this pandemic stuff happened that probably eclipsed it all?
There are apartments in the Geek House's neighborhood that I'm expecting there to be some kind of neighbor war at some point, because apparently there's a tenant that has a medical marijuana card, and Massachusetts legalized marijuana, so there's dispensaries and stuff. So anybody that can make the road trip over the border into Massachusetts, of course, well, Connecticut has it partially decriminalized, but these are Northeast liberal states we're talking about here. I imagine at some point we're going to have to figure out what you do in cases of things like hotboxing, skunk weed, people stinking up neighborhoods, and they're so high most of the time they don't realize how much they smell.
So that's settled off a bit. I mean, people don't stink in Walmart anymore. That's definitely an improvement over what we had a year ago. Of course, the pandemic, less people go shopping on a less regular basis because they don't want to get this thing. Now, when they wear masks around here, so the mask usage has actually gotten better. So it's an event now if I see some idiot wearing a mask on their chin or something like that. But this is the thing. The whole thing with legalizing marijuana, I think people have at least become somewhat self-aware that if they're going to blaze themselves up they might as well, they shouldn't smell like a skunk when they're going to Walmart. It's an event if I run into people that you can smell from like 50 feet away, because they skunk weed themselves so much, they basically destroy their sense of smell because they're so baked. So, haven't run into a situation like that in a while where I can smell the marijuana from that far away. Or how about cars in the parking lot? Oh, that person's a stoner. So, yeah, it looks like it was one of those things that had a new toy effect. But now it's kind of settled down now that people have kind of gotten used to it. And this is one of the things you'll hear like libertarian commentators talking about when they say, yeah, you know, prohibition didn't work. A lot of the allure of the forbidden goes away once it's no longer forbidden. And I think to some extent, recreational marijuana use is part of this. Speaking from experience, now that I mean, around that time, I could count on somebody in Walmart somewhere stinking up the store everywhere they went because they smoked a ton of skunk weed before they went out shopping. Unless it's just that people have less money because of layoffs due to the pandemic, but we've got places that can't staff up right now, so it's not like there aren't any jobs.
These things that weren't a thing before that now folks have to figure out, municipalities need to figure out, etc. And in particular, situations where people are worried about losing their jobs because their neighbor smokes marijuana legally and they go into work smelling like it.
Or they have to operate heavy machinery and they're impaired for an hour or so at the start of each shift while they're getting over being hotboxed by their neighbors. That's a huge one for me.
Because it's going through like vents and stuff and going into their unit. Now, there's already a common law approach to this, which would be nuisance type stuff. But common law, as the term might suggest, can often be a first and worst kind of way of addressing these issues. For example, loud music falls under nuisance stuff if you're being kept up at night by someone blasting music. And yet, how many people living in apartments have problems with loud neighbors? It's practically a stereotype. If you go looking for nuisance stuff, you'll probably see some example of loud neighbors given as an example of that, because it's so widespread of an issue. So, yeah, sure, you can talk about creating a nuisance because your apartment always smells like skunk weed, but, and that's really the thing here.
360p for the quality. That's original YouTube quality. Of course, this is made to be listened to, so it's basically audio with a picture on it, not unlike one of those topic videos you see on pop songs.
And that's really the thing here. In the name of keeping the units rented, the landlord is basically ensuring some kind of turnover, because if you tick people off, surprise, surprise, they leave.
Obviously, either that situation is resolved or Hillbilly started just dealing with it or something. I don't really speak to anybody in that block, or anybody for that matter. The pandemic has given me the perfect excuse to completely blow off the fact that my neighbors even exist. They're quiet too, otherwise, at least when they're not working on redneck trucks or anything stupid like that. Yeah, not bad considering I'm not as far in the woods as I used to be.
And with the people that have moved in and out of the units in the Geek Houses neighborhood, not just this particular property owner's units, but all of them.
Oh, yeah. We got to remember the bozo parents who basically kicked their kids outside and they're swinging a rope swing off a tree over a concrete parking lot about 7 feet in the air. If that rope ever breaks, I'll probably hear the sirens of paramedics and stuff. Again, rental properties. Ugh.
There are people coming and going so much that I don't know how the heck these landlords make any money. So when you're constantly having to advertise, constantly having to fill units, and it's like Teflon to find any tenant that's going to stick around any decent length of time.
The folks who's... What the... Mid-roll! And I cut it off at exactly the right time. Well, yeah. You know what? We should just ad block this thing. Oh, look, a skip button. Well, that was easy. Yeah, this is one of the reasons to turn off mid-rolls and these kinds of things. Plus, actually, I should probably load this up in the editor so it plays consistently. Let me actually do that. 3210. I can always click edit video. We're at 456 out of 3210. So I can always go to the editor and let's load the 3210 and stuff like that. Let's actually redesign for like 4 minutes in or so.
But
yeah, so we can actually get around this and be lit up a little more. If we go into React mode and resize it so that it's made for the editor, which will play without ads. So it's the sort of thing where you shouldn't be cheeseballing your own ads anyway. So probably the best way to have React mode with stuff like this is to load it up in the cloud editor instead. So let's just get this over to here and then get this over to here. The issue is going to be how bright it is, because there's no dark mode in YouTube Studio, which I wonder what exactly is YouTube smoking that is still not a thing. Why is there no dark mode in YouTube Studio yet, YouTube? There's dark mode on desktop YouTube. There's dark mode on mobile YouTube. Why is there no dark mode in YouTube Studio yet? So that I'm not glaringly bright in order to do this. Matter of fact, the only option I have, well, no, it has to be full screen in order to size correctly on the screen and stuff like that. The only option I have would be to do this. No, I have to be all lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's New Year's. Right, we continue.
Probably see some example of loud neighbors given as an example of that, because it's so widespread of an issue. So, yeah, sure, you can talk about creating a nuisance because your apartment always smells like skunk weed, but, and that's really the thing here. And that's really the thing here. In the name of keeping the units rented, the landlord is basically ensuring some kind of turnover, because if you tick people off, surprise, surprise, they leave. And with the people that have moved in and out of the units in the Geek Houses neighborhood, not just this particular property owner's units, but all of them, there are people coming and going so much that I don't know how the heck these landlords make any money. So when you're constantly having to advertise, constantly having to fill units, and it's like Teflon to find any tenant that's going to stick around any decent length of time. So, but that's kind of a...
There was audio. Whoa, I can't hear myself now. There's audio that was bleeding over into the microphone according to my level meter. So I'm trying to get this to where it won't echo or something along those lines. Could be the case that the microphone picks up the headphones if the headphones are too loud.
Parallel to what's going on with the job market right now. I know of places that can't find good help
or stop breathing on it.
Good help, or some combination of both, including the 9-to-5ers. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about YouTube. So just over on Twitter, I recently...
Stop. Now, here's the kicker with the whole YouTube situation. This is before I got into streaming. So this is back when I focused primarily on 100% on YouTube. This wasn't a situation where I had experience elsewhere. And this is a great example of the fishbowl effect of being too involved in one platform. Because you start acting like problems that are specific to one platform are a lot worse than they are. So, you have these issues and these situations and things like that, and you basically end up in a situation where you think things are worse than they actually are, and it's a great way to end up jaded, and it just doesn't play well with this whole thing where you can get more experience and be better at what it is that you do.
Posted and recommended that you go watch one of V. Westlife's videos. He's having problems with YouTube. He's having problems with YouTube and the copyright system over one of his videos where he fiddles around with a cassette deck. And as I saw this thing that he posted over on Twitter, I couldn't help but think this is a mixed bag thing. Yeah, it's annoying for V. Westlife, but it technically counts as YouTube trying to make progress. Apparently a system has been deployed, and this is the system that glitched out on V. Westlife. A system has been deployed so that copyright owners who want to issue DMCA takedowns can issue a delayed takedown, which gives the other party a chance to respond, maybe try and work things out, or take the video down without incurring disciplinary action on their channel.
Twitch DMCA Mageddon has completely rendered this irrelevant. A timed takedown is great. It lets you contact the rights holder and resolve your issues with them instead of shoot first and ask questions later. That system should be expanded and actually made into the default. If the DMCA were revised, there should be some kind of negotiation period between the two before the takedown takes effect. But I don't know if it really needs to, because the law does not specify that the stuff that gets abused needs to always be abused. That's just something the platforms have decided to do with their implementation of it. But yeah, here I am upset about time takedowns and stuff like that. I'm upset about one of the very technical features that YouTube is ahead of the game on when it comes to copyright, just like Content ID. This is the frustrations of a guy who is fishbowled by YouTube. Needless to say, things would change greatly once I got into streaming.
In the case of what I retweeted, though, this is a glitch that it can only be described as a glitch by some automated system, because the takedown in what the Westlife shared is scheduled for December 31st, 1969. And this falls right in line with the mixed bag experience, or the mixed bag that I'm getting from the way YouTube communicates with creators. Yes, they are a platform that is struggling. They're beset on all sides by folks trying to embroil the platform in scandals and bad press.
So this is not the actual competition of the webs of the platform. This is not the actual competition that we're talking about here. We're talking about the industry in general. YouTube's been getting attacked for copyright stuff for a very long time, since the Viacom lawsuits. And YouTube actually is the target of lots of different business entities who either want YouTube to change something or they want YouTube to lose its relevance. Like, for example, all those folks like Motor Trend who are starting their own on-demand video services, so they didn't have to mess with YouTube's policies and stuff anymore for things like Roadkill, Dirt Every Day, etc.
And other stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff that keeps constantly landing YouTube in the news. And I know that they're struggling because of the uptick in retention language in things like the Creator Academy, Susan Wojcicki's public appearances.
Susan Wojcicki, I've heard her say it out loud since this time when I recorded this.
And speeches and going on other people's videos, and just the kind of literature that's being passed along to the creator community. So I can tell YouTube is struggling. I'm also seeing more advertising, and not just advertising in terms of more ads when you watch a video, but also YouTube showing up in commercials on like TV and stuff. So the best businesses don't have to advertise. Also, these changes for changes' sake happening more and more frequently. Fixing things costs money, so the more that YouTube works on their stuff, the more that cost goes up. So I don't think they'd want to be modifying stuff unless they see some actual value that offsets those costs.
There is value. It's called not falling behind on technical features, which was the fate of live video. LiveVideo.com was a very promising YouTube competitor, but what happened was YouTube defeated the purpose of its existence. There were things that live video did that YouTube didn't. Once YouTube started doing those things, it was all over. Eventually, by the end of the rivalry, live video couldn't even get widescreen support when YouTube was going HD. That's how stupid it got. So yeah, it's one of those deals where if you ever rest on your laurels, your competitors have an easy opportunity to overtake you, if given enough time. So it is worth it to invest in stuff. Just goes to show how much difference a year and not being fishbowled by YouTube anymore really changes things. I appreciate the good things YouTube has done, but we'll still hold them to account for things like automated systems not working well and stuff like that, because that matters. What matters even more, though, is whether or not the platform looks like the kind of place where creators can actually amount to something. If that's not there, it's game over.
With the various changes that they keep making on a more and more regular basis, like the changes to the channel layouts and stuff like that. Yeah, it's annoying that features have been retired and deprecated, but from a cost perspective, I can see things like, for example, I can see the value in no longer allowing a lot of custom graphics on a channel, even custom colors, and things along those lines. So that doesn't surprise me. But at the same time, what we have here with this situation with Westlife and the takedown for December 31st, 1969, it falls right in line with this.
All right, change something about the stream. Open up live control room. Hold on a second. Turn off monetization. It is over. At midnight, it's not going to matter anymore. Boom. I'm demonetizing this thing in advance. Forget waiting for the algorithm to do it. Because at midnight, we are going to be very, very demonetizable. It's the end of 2020. I think it's about time I was in rare form for a change with some of this stuff, but we shall save that for the stroke of midnight Eastern. Let's continue.
Dual, two-faced approach to these things. Because, yeah, this is a system that folks are looking for, but it's also yet another example of folks being frustrated in the Twitterverse, so to speak, with how YouTube is these days. And this thing where, yeah, they want to change things, but it's persistently frustrating. It really is a chill on creators wanting to make content, especially part-time creators like myself, who are not depending on a YouTube channel to pay bills. The big channels will complain loudly about what it's like to be on YouTube, but ultimately they don't really have a choice unless they just go back to having some other kind of job. But the part-time folks like myself who can just take a break from content and it's not really all that much except a little less fun money, if that it's a completely different story altogether.
Well, you guys just put videos on Twitch and have no discoverability because Twitch isn't built for that. Technology is absolutely not there. Should experiment with that in 2021 now that I'm an affiliate.
One major oversight, and this is the sort of thing where YouTube would have to decide to implement this, is perhaps one of the things that they could do for some of these copyright issues I keep seeing where somebody has a short amount of background music or something and the record company tries to claim ad revenue. First off, the system needs to support multiple claims that divvy up the ad revenue.
Already does.
I personally would like to see a system where everything is scaled. So if you monetize a video where you're walking through like a shopping mall or something and you get a copyrighted song for like a minute or so, if you have a 10-minute video and you have 1 minute of copyrighted content, you can split it 9-1, so to speak. You can split up the revenue based on how much time the copyrighted content takes up in the video versus its entire play length. So let's make it simpler here. If you have a 4-minute video with 2 minutes of background noise that's copyrighted, it can be split 50-50 between the revenue can be split 50-50 between yourself and the copyright owner because you're using their stuff, so they get a cut because you used their stuff.
Oh man, if only I could have seen, anybody could have foreseen what happened with Twitch Copyright Mageddon and DMCA, which is practically a meme on Twitch nowadays. No system, no content ID system, nothing like that. And it doesn't look like they're even going to try to make something like that anytime soon because it's something that keeps getting deflected whenever people bring this up. Much like we said earlier, World of Warcraft, when Blizzard would hear about features in other games that were good and then give a million reasons why it could never be in their game until they caved and put it in anyways.
I'm curious if the record companies or other folks would actually spring for something like this, especially if the system is robust enough to have the revenue divvied up multiple ways. So if you have a video with incidents of copyrighted songs multiple times, you can actually have the revenue divvied up multiple ways between yourself and all the rights holders.
So basically it toggles on and off. Once the song starts playing, then fine. Send everything off to the record company because it's their stuff. But once it stops, it comes back to you.
I think even the record companies might spring for that because if you can have, for example, multiple record companies monetizing parts of the same video and the creator still making money with a scaling amount, then that would probably be a substantially more fair system than what we currently have right now, where
it would be smaller numbers though. So that'd be the only counter to it all. So smaller numbers. However, one of the big things that you got to remember about Content ID is that it's fully automatic. Record company loads their material once and they get ad revenue everywhere that shows up anywhere else where the content is matched. Everywhere. So even if the numbers were lower, it's still interesting because it's nothing that they have to chase. It's free money. It would just be a more fair system. Now here's the fun part. Content creators catch wind that if they use copyrighted music in a YouTube video, the revenue goes to the record company instead of to them. But they're like, you know what? Heck with it. I'm just going to, we'll just split the video up so that I still get a decent chunk of stuff because now I have that option. So they're less intimidated from playing songs and then, of course, knowing full well in advance that the money will get funneled off to the record company for the amount of what they do that has the song. But instead of it being winner take all, it's a more fair system. I wonder if that might actually result in not as much of a revenue drop for the record labels as you first might think if people were less intimidated. If people know that 2 minutes of a song in a 12-hour stream sends the revenue from the 12-hour stream to the record company, all of it, they're intimidated. But if they know that 2 minutes in a 12-hour stream sends 2 minutes of revenue to the record company and they still get everything else, that would actually probably make streamers a lot happier and want to stream a lot more on here.
It's winner take all, and it creates this incentive for someone to try to be the winner that takes all. And if it's not, as it was in the case of V Westlife, A&M Records, because of a song that I recognize as Gino Vanelli's I Just Wanna Stop.
Gotta add that to the Lights favorites with Less Talk playlist. By the way, the radio station that is inspired by Light Rock 105 changed its Rhode Island based. Changed its name back to Light 105, the name it was when I was growing up. Light 105, light favorites with less talk. I gotta listen to that station again. See if they're trying to go retro with the design. They're going for best of 80s, 90s, and today, so I gotta see if I gotta see what they're playing. And see if there's any 70s mixed in, because like 70s soft rock fits the light category as well.
Which makes sense, because that's the record company that that song was published under. Besides the actual record company, it could also be some third party posing as the record company, or, you know, some company that exists to monetize content, and they have deals with various rights holders, and then they go scouring YouTube for them. So basically an outsourced service.
The Orchard.
You know, any business that exists because of the revenue that can be made from monetizing complete videos where people have small amounts of copyrighted content. And YouTube has tried to address small amounts of copyrighted content in a simpler manner with some of their updates that I've read more recently. But I think the fairest system they could do, although it's the most technically complex on their end, is to make it where you can have multiple claims from multiple rights holders on the same video, and the revenue is divvied up based on the amount of time the content is featured. Whether or not that YouTube wants to go as far as to make it overlapping or something and figure that part out is a totally different story.
So yeah, that's part of it too, but I don't know where it would be overlapping unless you were listening to two songs at once. Let's take the example the IRL streamers are worried about. Going to the supermarket and what's playing on the PA in the supermarket. I mean, yeah, when you're in the supermarket, redirect the ad revenue to whichever record company has their song currently playing over the intercom. Do it. It's fair. It's their stuff. But long as it switches back to the creator once they're out of the store and that stuff is no longer playing.
But I think any kind of system like that, although it would require more technical work on YouTube's part, would be more fair than this current system that encourages somebody to try to be the winner that takes all in a situation where somebody makes like a 15-minute vlog and there's like 30 seconds of some kind of copyrighted music in there that the record company or some third party or some outsourced service tries to then claim all of the ad revenue because of that instance, which is a minority of the time in the video. But the question is, does YouTube want to take these steps? Lastly, in our big list of frustrations, we need to talk about the 9-to-5ers. For the past couple of months, I've been working a position that I stepped up to the plate for because of a perceived business need. And
all right, I'm going to skip this. Because that has changed completely in the other direction. I'm on my way to being an MVP on this team. You know what? One of the worst things you can do professionally is never give yourself a chance to get good at a job. If you're your own worst critic, you may become your own self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm skipping this.
With the differences in how they operate because of
all right, stuff that doesn't sound so businessy.
Kind of the disruptor in terms of the talent market.
That's still the 9-to-5. Picture in picture, no thanks.
To everybody that came before them. I can believe that. It's very, very different seeing young people working in a warehouse that aren't rebellious as all heck.
Gen Z. Timid, known for being timid because their conversations or their childhoods were dinged by the Great Recession. Welcome to the end of 2020, doggo. Welcome to the stream. Just hanging out here, going over what I posted a year ago. I'm probably going to take this down. I mean, this is all too jaded. This is just too jaded. It's stupid. Or go through and edit out stuff that I think is just stupid. Is there any part of this that talks about, oh, the Roaring Twenties? Maybe the very end of it?
Feeling that the other folks running the machine weren't really your teammates. And
nope, still 9-to-5. I could edit it here. That's what this is.
My ability to do stuff on the weekends and my sleep schedule, because I had to temporarily become a morning person again. Side of the story. And maybe some of them tune in and hear this for the first time. But this was a very serious thing that I chose to step up to the positive zeal.
It's amazing what can change in a year. Here I am getting upset about stuff. I just locked up the editor. Oh, this is classic.
Happens to work. Of this,
okay,
that I looked forward to the 2020s because
here we go.
Have to be open-minded to the way things are changing and the way things have changed.
It's kind of like a proto version of this Gen X versus Gen Z thing I say about the 9-to-5ers, that I think a lot of the jobs we have are just too boring for people that grew up with smartphones. I mean, you're doing one thing all day, very mundane, very repetitive, very monotonous. I think even working at Walmart, you'll get at least 2 different things to do in the span of a shift with them. So put up some product here, and then go run a register, and then go grab carts from the lot or something like that. But this cog in a machine stuff, I think it needs to go. I think that if we're gonna even have any chance of keeping people, we gotta bounce them between at least 2 tasks during the span of a shift, and staff everything so that you have your before lunch plan and your after lunch plan. One of those deals.
It is in light of this that I looked forward to the 2020s, because when all is said and done, I want these persistent, never-ending frustrations, feelings of hopelessness, spending the bulk of the decade feeling like running up a down escalator, to all be left in the 2010s where they belong. Can I do better? Yes. Can I spring for some opportunities? Yes. Should I be open-minded and looking to move forward with things? Yes.
Until the pandemic takes the higher-paying jobs that are more technical and shuts them all down, because those are non-essential workers. Yeah. At the same time, the essential workers, blah, 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 in the warehouse and whatnot, can't keep people staying there. It's just...
And with that sort of thing is not letting the folks who want to be antagonistic to my interest in bettering myself have the last word. Even the guy who's, I believe, a young boomer, had a steady career since the mid-1980s.
He's since left the company. This is the guy that thought I should not have a job in corporate America. What are you doing working in a big company still? You're smart. Why don't you start your own business? Yeah, tell those small business owners who've struggled due to the pandemic and shutdowns being considered non-essential businesses. Yeah, that certainly would have worked out. And there's a similar situation. My dad went through something like that when he was my age. Somebody was telling him to be a manager somewhere, and if he had gone into business for him and started his own business, if he had started his own business, I would have not gone to college, because with the consolidation in the grocery industry, my dad was a meat cutter during his working years. With the consolidation in the grocery industry and the way things have changed with selling groceries and the supply chains that send around things like produce and meat and canned goods and stuff like that, with all the changes, he wouldn't have had a chance. It's just the same thing too. America, basically oligopoly feeding frenzy. That's our market structure with how we work these days. Too many big companies that own way too much. We outlawed monopolies, and we wrote the Sherman Act, and Teddy Roosevelt did what he did, and other presidents around that time attacked the trusts and eventually broke them up, etc. But instead of monopolies, we have oligopolies now that have similar effects. Too much consolidation, not enough competition. Different discussion altogether, though. It's New Year's Eve, for Pete's sake. 11:30 at the Geek House. Only a half hour of this godforsaken year left to go.
There's no way I can better my situation if I stay involved in stuff like what I'm doing with this channel. No, I can't let people like this have the last word, and I'm not going to. There was a saying a while back when the New England Patriots won one of their various Super Bowls that they won over the past several years. And it was, "We are all patriots." Kind of being, oh yeah, you may not like the team, but, we're all proud American folks, or whatever it was, whatever the meaning was behind all of that. That was just the way I viewed it anyways. But to an extent, no matter what it is that we do for a living, we are all business folks. Yeah, sure, formal business background, could probably be a manager at the right place at some point with the experience that I have. could probably pursue other opportunities and advance in various career fields besides his warehouse stuff. But ultimately, we have to deal with the business side of what it is that we do every single day.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. This is the woods. That's all there is around here unless you want to work at Walmart. I'd have to go running off to the city, and then who knows how much things would cost, what the rent would be, how loud the neighborhood would be, whether I could get any peace and quiet. So, this kind of sleeper type stuff, where, you know, I'm kind of under the radar, so to speak, working a dumb job out in the woods, is a lot of what makes this kind of stuff possible, because I have better conditions on night shift when the neighborhood is quiet, and I don't have neighbors through the walls to call the cops on me if I make a bunch of noise at 2 in the morning. Because I sound checked the house. Unless a window breaks, nobody's going to hear anything unless they're getting super nosy outside, and real close at that.
The talent market, the parallels between hiring an employee and selling a product or service, like customer satisfaction and customer retention, etc. Eventually, we have to acknowledge this business stuff, even if we're not versed in it, because it's just the way that the world works. It's the way business is conducted. And I think as the 2010s draw to a close, that I've been a little too influenced by the doldrums of the layoff period and the Great Recession, and the nonsense that happened in the earlier part of this decade. But at this point, that was years ago. It's time to move forward. 2020 is a new year and a new decade, and I want to make this count. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
That's the old format of the radio-style show before I started streaming. Didn't have the internet for it until this year. And that's one of the reasons why I got into streaming, is that the technology finally made it available. All right, 11:33. I have a Google speaker reminder that'll ding when there's 5 minutes to go. So even if I lose track of time, I've got something that's going to make some noise when it's almost time to say goodbye to 2020. All right, let's get some music going here and hang out and do some stuff here. So, a couple of things that'll change, obviously. This was the year I got into streaming. Already got everything planned for what the content mix is going to be for 2021 and things like that. However, outside of all of this social media is my involvement on Facebook, which is family and friends social media, daily minutia, a couple of funny pictures, nothing exciting, nothing anybody would be interested in. I've wondered about Facebook gaming, but Facebook has to fix its real names problem before I would even consider it at this point. So, just going to read off a version of what I posted for family and friends, officially announcing that I've deprecated my involvement on Facebook, and the only reason I still have an account is because of family and friends who still do, and it's exclusively to stay in touch with them. But I will not be doing anything wild and crazy on Facebook anymore after 15 years on that platform. So some things change, and this is one of them. 2005 to 2020, I'm deprecating my involvement on Facebook. Facebook, as part of their recent autumn 2020 revamp, has deprecated the old notes feature, so for longer posts it looks like I'll just have to wing it for something like this. I've decided that the end of 2020 will also bring with it the end of my involvement on Facebook as folks have known it. I first became involved on Facebook in 2005 after some college buddies signed up back when it was a college yearbook site called The Facebook, 3 words, and sent me an invite. It was like the old classmates site. Little do we realize what path Facebook would take since then. When Facebook was revamped to more general-purpose social media in the late 2000s and eclipsed MySpace, I, of course, got very heavily involved, to the point where some of my high school classmates at our 10-year reunion were rightly making fun of my 10 posts a day or whatever I was up to at the time. Facebook, throughout its heyday in the 2010s, saw me posting updates, notes, pictures, the works. At one point, the now deprecated notes feature even was the prototype, I gotta put that in there, even was the prototype for a religious blog and later a tech blog, talking about like theology and stuff, and then the tech blog morphed into multimediajay.wordpress.com, as you folks would know it today. It originally was called the MultimediaJay blog, and the joke was blog with a B. Today in 2020, as this awful year draws to a close, things have changed a lot. The more keen-eyed folks on Facebook who don't have me on ignore because of all my various posts and whatnot, will have seen by now that my Facebook involvement is all but dead, and my Twitter involvement with my haha millennial side hustles, that's the MultimediaJay stuff, has replaced it. Fundamentally, Facebook has become the wrong place to post updates because the few family and friends still using this platform will either not be interested in or understand most of the nerd stuff that I'm interested in these days when it comes to technology and whatnot. At the same time, the Trump era has done its damage, and I'm thinking a lot these days about what Joe Biden mentioned about this problem we have in America and on the internet, where we can't just disagree on anything anymore. Everything must always escalate into World War III these days. Whatever level of black sheep status I've earned in this family, having grown up in New England, I don't think most of what I post should be a thing on here, and I don't think most of what I like and follow on here is worth continuing to like and follow. I'm more than familiar with the phenomenon of Facebook depression as well, and I draw a sharp distinction these days between family and friends social media and more general social media, which is what this is. As a result, my opinions or tech musings belong on the more general platforms, leaving me with next to nothing to post on Facebook, which some folks might actually appreciate if they've been disagreeing with me all along. Facebook is also an embattled company facing antitrust charges and whose real names requirement flies in the face of their latest endeavor, Facebook Gaming. Facebook has gotten into game streaming to match Twitch and YouTube. But, oh, finally some Diamond Ortiz in the player. See, yep. But the real names thing is a serious privacy concern. I don't expect Facebook Gaming to get very far if they don't address this. The wild card is that outside of game streaming, Facebook Live still exists for more regular video calls. Theoretically, some of these long-lost relatives of mine could arrange video calls and stuff. We could all have an online get-together where we actually get to be something besides internet keyboard warriors to each other. It's a shortcoming of some of the email stuff, things like what my dad does and whatnot. Eliminating the text-only nature of the internet only brings back the human side of us having to relate to one another as human beings in a way that text never could. And yes, for the folks my dad keeps in touch with via email, I have an extra webcam, the Logitech, that I started streaming with earlier this year with a lower shutter speed, but nobody's going to care on a family call, that my dad could always hook up with a built-in microphone to join the call with the broadband he has nowadays. It took me years to get him to stop using AOL dial-up. All in all, though, it's about time I put up or shut up with the changes the 2020s have wrought in my approaches to social media and adjourn my active involvement on this platform after 15 years. I still have it largely for whoever still uses this to keep in touch, and little else. Here are the ramifications of all of this. For colleagues and relatives, etc., who I defriended because of intellectual disagreements or pandemic disagreements or whatnot, unfortunately there are people that hate masks in my family, I have one last friend, hopefully they haven't gotten this thing somehow. I have one last friend request that is either outstanding or will be sent. Keep in mind that I'm very active on more general platforms, so anyone who still wants to flip out on Facebook or something, I probably won't be involved and will most likely just mute updates from that person. The picture albums that I was using for pictures and photos are deprecated. The video game screenshots will go to another platform too, like Morrowind, Skyrim, etc. I'll most likely unlike most of the pages I've liked over the years to have a nearly empty Facebook feed and less to get upset about. I have a brand account I could use for Facebook Gaming, but I can't think of a good reason to stream video games on Facebook, and I certainly do not want to be nagging people to follow me as a video game streamer on Facebook Gaming. If I wanted to play games and have relatives watch, I'd use regular Facebook Live for that. See, I'll only be involved in one Facebook group, which is kind of legacy at this point, and they just share memes and stuff. Some other folks from the heydays of my Facebook involvement will probably appreciate me settling down with not posting too many times a day. Most of the reason for me even still being on Facebook is because others are still there. My involvement will only correspond to however involved those others remain on here. I'm not interested in contributing to Facebook depression, so I won't be trying to make it look like my life is perfect, like some people do who never post except to brag about themselves. Twitter has that problem too. My more general purpose social media is something people either like or don't. I won't bug people on the friends list to boost my views or anything like that. Life will go on, with or without Facebook. Happy 2021. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of 15 years on Facebook for me in terms of active involvement on the platform. So basically what I've been doing on Twitter with the updates and stuff is what I used to do on Facebook to a much smaller group of people that weren't into nerd stuff. On Twitter, there's actually SEO, and I can correspond it to the long form stuff in the blog, and I can actually have things cater more to the audience that is more likely to appreciate MultimediaJay stuff. So, let's see. Speaking of which, things are actually picking up when it comes to engagement and stuff. Just like that situation with the arguments that I've had on Twitter. Only the people that respond are not anywhere near all the people that read everything. Let me go check out the impressions, see what kind of ratios I'm looking at here. Let me actually go to the gear. What do they have for analytics these days? Let's see. My account. Account information. Nope, no password. Please enter your password to get heck with that, Twitter. More. Analytics. You don't have to go into your settings for that. Okie dokie. So I've tweeted less. Impressions are down 21.8%, but visits and mentions are up. 6,000 impressions related to S-Fan Ginny. Interesting. This is December 2020 I'm looking at here. Streamer. There's a streamer that followed me who has 1,000 followers. That's cool. So 452 tweets. So in December of 2020, we're talking 452 tweets that got about 78,000 impressions. 78,800. Divided by 452 means about 174. My tweets are getting read by, on average, 174 pairs of eyeballs. Whether it's multiple people or something like that, whether it's multiple people or something along those lines, who knows? But Twitter gets scrolled. It's one of the key differences. Twitter gets scrolled versus the way YouTube operates, the way Facebook operates, things along those lines. So, very, very interesting. This really gets into what I'd like to look at for 2021. Talking about the different kinds of social media and what you put where, playing the platforms to their strengths, and what specifically these platforms are good for. You want to cater to whatever is the strongest. All right, what are we at? 11:43, 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes left of this darn year. So, anything in chat? Just some folks saying hi. Yeah, I think King Europe earlier was probably the person that was friendliest about the whole New Year's thing. Could be the case that people are not going to stop by because they're watching the ball get ready to drop on TV or something. Yeah. Good to say goodbye to this year. Good to say goodbye to this year. What other stuff can we take a look at in the next 15 minutes? Can't really go firing up ESO or anything. Is there anything in Twitter I can look at before the warning pops off that there's only 5 minutes left of this pathetic year? Let's see. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me. I was on Facebook for 15 years, actively contributing, not understanding social media, and not understanding that your family and friends are not very good people to get all social media-y with. You're not going to convince your Republican Uncle Joe or whoever, to change views and things like that. You're not going to convince the people in your family to change. It's just more a matter of, oh, look, pictures of the kids or something like mundane like that. Not stupid, but mundane. So, let's look at Twitter here. All right, so Ginny and S-Fan, I caught the stream when Ginny was cooking lasagna. And I was like, oh, this should be good. Does she know how to cook a good lasagna? Apparently she does. S-Fan had a ball with it. It's just it's so cute looking that those two are basically playing shipper bait games. They're baiting people to ship them when they're not boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband, wife. But I'm seriously wondering if these people are ever going to troll the living daylights out of all those people saying they should get together by doing some kind of Leave It to Beaver parody or something like that, or do a stream in black and white where they act like an old TV show or something. Because she's cooking lasagna for them and they're both streaming. It's just like, I really think there's a parody in the works somewhere for stuff like this. Let's see here. some trouble with Amazon Prime earlier. Most of the stuff's available on Twitter. In the DMCA category for commercial music, there's an old John Michael Montgomery song, Life's a Dance You Learn As You Go. I was thinking about that earlier this afternoon. 11:46, 14 minutes left. So, one of the things I'm not a fan of is this whole building a brand thing. And what I did, I went actually did some Google searching looking for stuff to build a brand with. So, let's suppose I was taking these people seriously. So, a lot of this was very familiar stuff that I've seen before. It's stuff that I've seen before with business education and stuff like that. Talking about focus groups and demographics and things like that. Here's a 7-step list. If you search build a brand on Google, this is what pops up. Building your own brand boils down to 7 steps. Research your target audience and your competitors. Pick your focus and personality. Choose your business name. Write your slogan. Choose the look of your brand, like colors and font, because those little details do go along with it. Design your logo and apply your branding across your business. Now, I fundamentally do not like this idea of personal branding for content creators, because it is, the more I've read about branding to refresh my memory on that stuff I haven't dealt with since college, the more I have been able to notice that it's very naive for people to adopt this term when it comes to what's essentially their personality, or building a persona, which is an entertainment personality of sorts. It really kind of falls to pieces when you start thinking about brands are often related to non-human stuff like products and services. But another major thing that these people don't talk about when they talk about building your brand is that in the corporate world, brands can be retired if they get damaged too much. There can be a situation where it's not worth it to continue on with a brand, so the brand is destroyed. It's thrown into the history books. The product is discontinued. The brand is discontinued. Let's suppose you make a really big mistake as a streamer. And by corporate standards, when it comes to branding, your brand is irreversibly damaged. So are you done with streaming just because you destroyed your brand somehow? No, I think the minute somebody's in a situation like that, they will throw away all this branding talk forever. They're like, no, I can do better than this, and I'm going to prove to the world that I've learned my lesson. But that's not the way it works with brands, because brands are inherently inanimate. They're not human. It relates to products and services. Things like Raytheon, or IBM, or Hilton Hotels, or something like that. Or, how about master brands? Where a brand is so well known that people automatically associate what it is with the brand itself. I actually was poking around on Q-Tips' website, because Q-Tips, let me just go to Q-Tips.com here. Q-Tips is actually, I was like, who owns Q-Tips nowadays? Let me actually put that on screen. Let me just balloon this big time. Just as an illustration of this. I was like, who owns Q-Tips? Because I know it's one of those big companies that owns like half the stuff in a supermarket. So, let me link up the web browser here. 11:49, 10 minutes to go. Yeah. So, I'm actually going to do a screen share. So let's get all the icons off the screen after this. I'm actually going to do a screen share here. Let's do browser, hookup Avast Secure. Check this out. You want to talk about the downsides of branding. Qtips.com. Copyright 2020 Unilever. Or is it Unilever? I don't know. All rights reserved. Da-da-da-da. Website is a US website. Am I cutting that off? Yes, I am. So let's do this with it. Let's actually make the window smaller. Let's make the window smaller here and hope it doesn't look too stupid. Make it take up only half the screen. Q-Tips is a registered trademark of What the? Ugh. Well, you can at least see it now. Q-Tips is a registered trademark of Unilever and is not a name for just any cotton swabs. The Q-Tips trademark can only be used to refer to the specific cotton swab products manufactured and sold by Unilever, and should not be used to refer to cotton swab products of other companies or to cotton swabs generally. Appropriate generic terminology for cotton swabs includes the terms cotton, sticks, and swabs. Misuse of the Q-Tips trademark constitutes an infringement of Unilever's exclusive rights in the mark. From the end of the stick to the top of the swab, this claim applies to Q-Tips cotton swabs only. Q-Tips is the classic example of the master brand thing if you study it in business school, where people routinely talk about the product itself with the brand name, even if it's something else. So they will talk about other forms of cotton swabs as though they were Q-tips. I'm gonna go buy some Q-tips. Then they come home with the bargain brand. So all this talk about branding when it comes to streaming, making videos and things like that, I think if these people even half knew what they were talking about with branding from a business perspective in corporate America with a formal background in business, they wouldn't use these words so loosely like this. Because you're talking about a situation where it could be a very awkward situation very quickly if you ever make a mistake. And lastly, I'll reiterate my usual concerns with using the term building my brand to refer to streaming, because it's so egotistical to do so. You're just having fun entertaining people. You know, are you interested in having potentially something that's bigger than you, that eclipses you, that no longer shines a spotlight on you, as we were talking about earlier? So 11:51. So yeah, I'm actually curious. I gotta check the backgrounds of these people who are going around your brand, and seeing how many of them just heard it from somewhere else, or they kind of hack jobbed a business education together without learning it formally. Is that where this misinformation came from? I'm also curious about Twitch as well. I mean, Twitch has write-ups for building your brand and stuff like that. Let me just see that. Let me just look for that on Google or something. Let me just fire up Google again. Qtips.com. Twitch building your brand. I think Twitch mentions it directly. Twitch branding tips. That's from streamscheme.com, so that's not actually Twitch. Personal brand. Oh, okay, personal branding on Twitch. This is more to do with the graphics, though. It's not you specifically. So if you're going to have like a look and feel or a design or a style to what it is that you're doing, take a minute to think about what makes you, your content, or your stream unique. Do you live and breathe the color orange? Stream from an ice fishing shack? Have a weird catchphrase? Whatever it is makes you, you can be a great starting point for your personal branding. This is official Twitch literature barking people up this tree now. Your brand should relate to your content or something you're passionate about. Start small and expand. Alright, let's go down every single one of these things that are part of your personal brand, blah blah blah, from the Twitch creator camp. Profile photo. The sunglass thing and the blue shirts is something I have fun doing. I do this for fun. It's fun for me to do this. My favorite color is blue. It's a preference. It's not like some sort of brand thing. Channel banner. I have fun using PowerPoint to make graphics. Profile biography. You know, that's a persona. Accent color. Favorite color is blue. Offline image. Same as graphics. Channel trailer. Social media links, loyalty badges, cheer modes. A lot of this stuff is kind of look and feel kind of stuff. Why branding matters. How to brand yourself on Twitch and beyond. Oh, that's a video. I don't want to watch that. Sorry, Twitch. The creator camp has a bunch of other stuff that I'm not a fan of either. Like no self-promotion and stuff. It's all part of the thing where, you know, people get focused on the wrong thing because of Twitch. So 11:54. The reminder should be going off any minute now. Could always play a song. YouTube audio library. Actually, since it is a 6-minute song here, let's do 75 and Lower by DJ Williams. One of my favorite songs. There it is.
I have a reminder for Jay.
We'll just let it sit. Let's turn this up. Let's turn this up in an ear trumpet and just play DJ Williams's... Let's just play DJ Williams's 75 and Lower. It's 4 minutes, so it'll get us almost to midnight. And then we'll set up the stream we'll set up the screen capture of the main screen for counting down the clock. Just make sure the clock doesn't have anything wacky in it. No, it doesn't even have my calendar. That's cool. Okay. Song of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Cutting that early. Whoa, that's loud. Loud in the headset anyways. Hopefully it's not too loud. So we're going to cut that early because it's 58 right now. We don't want to miss this because we're doing too much talking. All right, let's do this. Let's hide the icons. Let's hide the icons. Let's watch this countdown and let's watch this happen here. We're actually going to go to main screen capture. There's the background. There's the background, and I have OBS. I have the live control room here, and here it is. The cheesiest, the absolute cheesiest way to ring in the new year. Want to wish everybody a happy new year. Actually, why don't we just do this? Do this with it. No, it's too late for that now, isn't it? Yeah. Let's just do this. And let's just, no. Come on, click me. We only got a minute to do this. All right, ready? There we go. Bring it up to about here. Okay, 1 minute to go from 2020. Are you ready? Time to ring in the new year and say goodbye to this pathetic excuse for a beginning to the so-called new Roaring Twenties. Here's to hoping 2021 brings something way better than just this. I don't want to get to the point where my dad went and prayed one day, said, "Dear God, please, is this really all it's going to be like for the rest of my life? Is my life really just this? Please, God, let me do something." Do something. It can't be like this the rest of my life. No, I don't want to jinx anything, though, with less than 30 seconds to go. Less than 30 seconds to go with all of this nonsense. All right. 15 seconds. You ready? Let's get counting, baby. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rotten hell, 2020. Hello, 2021. Put the darn music back on and let's have some fun here. So, DJ Williams back in again. Why don't we just do some? No, you know what? Let's do something that I don't play a lot of. Let's see. Where is that one called, like, James River? Is that it? There we go. A little more rhythm and blues to bring in 2021. Happy New Year from the East Coast of the U.S., everybody. Happy New Year from Jay's Geek House, January 1st, 2021. I'm going to hop on Discord and say Happy New Year to the folks, the fine folks at Potato Planet, Quirky Pixels Discord, the happy, friendly community that it is. Happy New Year from US East. Smiley face, thumbs up, and party. And let's add a GIF while we're at it. Bingo. Happy New Year from US East. See if the mods delete anything. This is the only Discord that'll be saying anything in. All right. Tell you this. So, yeah, Quirky Pixels, Potato Planet, Discord, join it if you want. It's a nice, friendly community focusing on small streamers and small creators. Happy New Year, everybody. What are our levels? Ooh, they're very, very close. All right, that was from when I was listening to the music earlier. There we go. All right, let's bring it down to 7%. So, I do like 15 or so. Are we still like a half inch ahead on the meters? Put it at like 10%. There we go. Okay. 2020 calendar. Don't have the box cutter with me. I don't have the box cutter with me, but I can always do this. Get my screens going here. Hey, you know, let's put all of Live Control Room on the screen here. So, earlier in the stream, I turned off monetization. The reason why is I'm usually family friendly. But 2020 was such a pathetic-ass year. 2020 was such a pathetic-ass year. I'm gonna have to put the mic off a little to the side here. 2020 was such a pathetic-ass year that I'm gonna break from the mold and be in rare form saying goodbye to it with this calendar here, representing 2020 and everything bad that it brought to our doorstep, even though I bought a 2021 calendar that's also a Connecticut nature calendar as well. Alright. Let's not sour the music here. If any of you people watching this at any time have kids in the room, you'd better put some headphones on and get them out of the room if you don't want to see me in rare form cussing a blue streak. I don't do this stuff very often. It's very out of place for me, very out of character, but 2020 changed a lot of things. Hey, 2020! 2020! You can go fuck yourself with a rusty iron harpoon. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, 2020. Go fuck yourself with a rusty iron harpoon and go enjoy it, bitch. In the years since we went wild with the box cutter, I have gotten a lot more civil, but I do still have a box cutter. Unfortunately, it has a safety blade, so watch my thumb. Maybe I should put a safety glove on. Goodbye, 2020, but let's use a civilized man's cutting tool. Come on now, huh? 2020, you suck, go rot in hell like the pathetic excuse for a year that you were. Go fuck yourself with a rusty iron harpoon until whatever happens, blah. That's why I turned off monetization. This is one wild exception where, quite frankly, I definitely have something to say about this year, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the people watching this after the fact are gonna be like, this was another boring stream of his, wasn't it? He just talked about business stuff or nerd stuff or video game stuff or whatever. No. He wouldn't take the 2020 calendar and completely destroy it before throwing it in the effing shredder. Yeah, let's get back to being family friendly. I don't like getting into the habit of being vulgar. It is unprofessional. It is rude. It can get you in trouble at work. It can limit your career options. It can get you in trouble on social media. Blah, 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 blah. But this is 2020 we're talking about. You know what? I'll finish this thing off with my bare fucking hands. 2020. Go fuck yourself with a rusty iron harpoon, you piece of shit excuse for a year, you piece of shit excuse for a new decade. Fuck off, never bother us again, and may every fucking thing that you wreaked on human civilization disappear sometime sooner rather than later, so help me God. How's that for giving a year a proper send-off? How's that? Boy, this is going to be a fun replay for people to watch. Yeah. This content is running limited or no ads due to content that is identified as inappropriate for most advertisers. Well, advertisers, have you had a good year in 2020? Have you had a good year in 2020? I mean, maybe some of you did. But if you're as annoyed as I am, I do apologize for being very unprofessional. I don't like to be this way. But 2020 just ended. Let's have some fun! And now, ladies and gentlemen, as I throw away the remains of the calendar from this pathetic excuse for a year and give myself even more stuff to clean up, I want to thank you all who tuned in today. I want to thank you all who are watching this after the fact on my darn channel. And I want to say, ha 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 ha, 2020, goodbye. Nice knowing you. Not get lost. Improv comedy was never my strong point, but I hope I've done something about that. Whatever. We like the nerd stuff and the geek stuff. That was good. Thanks for stopping by. I had to give 2020 a send-off that it very properly deserved. Now what? I gotta clean up now. There's a lot of stuff I gotta clean up. Yeah, I'll go around with the darn broom afterwards. James River by DJ Williams. Pick up with the rhythm and blues. Shall all acquaintance be forgot? Oh wait, Twitch Things is going. Well, there is one good thing about today being 2021, right? Yeah, Guess what that is? Hindsight is literally 2020. All right, let's chug the rest of the cold ones like nobody's freaking business. 3, 2, 1. Chug, motherfucker, chug, motherfucker, chug. More. Demonetize that, YouTube. Actually, no, I'm just not going to bother. I understand the importance of the ad-friendly guidelines. But darn it, it's New Year's Day. 2020 is in the history books. Let's make something of this, shall we? YouTube.com/MultimediaJay, Twitter.com/MultimediaJay, Twitch.tv/MultimediaJay, MultimediaJay.wordpress.com, and MultimediaJay TV on Instagram, and MultimediaJay on Imager. Too many darn social medias, gotta make something for that. Well, it's a new year, and I look forward to things getting better. There's an old song called Things Can Only Get Better. I will share that to Twitter. Matter of fact, maybe I should go looking for haha, welcome to 2021 kind of songs, make a blog entry about it. It's technically January now. Now to figure out what to do about the long gray stretch of suck known as winter after Christmas in New England. Right. Till next time, this is Multimedia Jay signing off. Thanks for stopping by. Happy 2021 and Happy New Year! Woo! No more 2020. Now what?